What happens when a young African leader defies one of the most powerful men on earth? When Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso stands firm against Donald Trump's tariff demands, it's more than just a trade dispute. It's a signal, a warning, and maybe the beginning of the West's worst nightmare. Because if Africa refuses to bend, the balance of global power may tilt forever. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will shake the way you see the future of our world. Ibrahim Traoré is not just another head of state. At 36, he's one of the youngest leaders in the world. But his age doesn't define him, his defiance does. In a continent long shaped by outside powers, Traoré represents something rare, a leader unwilling to bow. Burkina Faso, a landlocked country in West Africa, isn't known for global influence. It has no seat at the United Nations Security Council, no massive military power, no trillion-dollar economy. But it has something else: courage, history, and the fire of a people determined to break free from colonial chains. When Trump demanded tariffs, Traoré said no. Not a polite diplomatic no, a firm rejection that shocked Western policymakers. Because this wasn't just about money, it was about sovereignty. Tariffs aren't just taxes. They are weapons. In Trump's vision, tariffs are tools to force weaker economies into submission, ensuring America gets the upper hand in every deal. For decades, African nations have been forced into unfair trade agreements, selling raw materials cheap while buying back finished goods at inflated prices. Tariffs are a way to lock that system in place. But Traoré's refusal breaks the cycle. It says we will not accept economic bullying. We will not be punished for seeking independence. And that message resonates across Africa. Across the continent, leaders are watching. From Mali to Niger, from Guinea to Chad, a new mood is rising, one of resistance. Military governments are cutting ties with France, reclaiming resources and forging new alliances. Traoré's move against Trump is part of this wider storm. For decades, the West controlled Africa through economics, military bases, and diplomatic pressure. But today, African leaders are asking a dangerous question. What if we don't need the West anymore? This moment feels familiar. In the 1950s and 60s, Africa rose against colonial rule. Men like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, Patrice Lumumba in Congo, and Thomas Sankara, Traoré's own hero in Burkina Faso, called for independence, dignity, and self-reliance. But back then, the West pushed back. Coup, assassinations, economic sanctions, all to ensure Africa stayed dependent. Lumumba was killed. Sankara was betrayed. Now, decades later, Traoré is invoking the same spirit. By blocking tariffs, he revives the legacy of those who dared to dream of a free Africa. And this time, history might play out differently. Let's be clear, the West's nightmare isn't just about one tariff dispute. It's about the domino effect. If Burkina Faso says no, what stops Nigeria, South Africa, or Kenya from saying the same? The West's dominance relies on African compliance. Cheap resources, open markets, unquestioned loyalty. If that ends, the global system shakes. Imagine oil sold directly to China without Western middlemen. Imagine gold and uranium traded in local African currencies instead of dollars. Imagine Africa joining BRICS and rewriting global trade rules. That is the nightmare, and Traoré just brought it one step closer. Donald Trump built his political career on the promise of America first. He believes tariffs make America strong. But against Traoré, this strategy is failing. Because tariffs work when your opponent is desperate. But Africa is no longer desperate. With China building infrastructure, Russia offering military support, and BRICS opening new financial doors, leaders like Traoré have options. Trump expected submission. He got defiance. And that defiance is contagious. Consider this. In recent years, trade between Africa and China has surpassed $250 billion annually. Russia is signing security pacts across the Sahel. India is investing in technology and agriculture. The Gulf states are pouring billions into infrastructure. The West no longer has a monopoly on African development. Traoré knows this. By rejecting Trump's tariffs, he signals to the world Africa is open for business, but not on Western terms. This shift is more than economic, it's geopolitical. The old order is crumbling. The new order is multipolar. Burkina Faso is not alone. Along with Mali and Niger, it forms a new alliance, the alliance of Sahel states. These nations have cut ties with France, demanded the removal of foreign troops, and are talking about a shared currency. Trump's tariff war could accelerate this unity, because nothing unites like a common enemy. And if America joins France in trying to bully Africa, it may push these nations closer together and closer to Russia and China. Let's not forget what's at stake. Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves, including cobalt, lithium, gold, and uranium. These are the resources of the future, powering electric cars, smartphones, and nuclear energy. For decades, the West extracted these riches, while Africa remained poor. Tariffs are just the modern tool to keep that imbalance alive. But Traoré's rejection signals a new approach. Resources for African development, not Western profit. If Africa controls its resources, the global balance shifts permanently. Symbols matter. And in international politics, symbolism can change reality. When Traoré blocked Trump's tariff demands, it wasn't just economics. It was psychological. It showed Africa that the West is not invincible. It showed young Africans that their leaders can say no. That courage, once unleashed, is unstoppable. From student protests in Dakar to farmers in Nigeria, the idea spreads. We don't have to accept unfair rules anymore. Of course, the West will not sit quietly. Expect sanctions. Expect propaganda. Expect whispers of coups. But here's the difference. Africa is no longer isolated. With BRICS banks offering loans, with Russian arms and Chinese railways, with new digital currencies bypassing the dollar, the old playbook may no longer work. The more the West pushes, the more Africa looks east. This isn't just about Africa. It's about the global system. For 500 years, Western powers controlled trade, resources, and finance. But in the 21st century, that monopoly is ending. From Latin America to Asia, nations are pushing back. And now, Africa, the last frontier of Western dominance, is awakening. Traoré's rejection of tariffs is a spark, and sparks can ignite revolutions. So what comes next? There are 3 paths. 1. The West forces compliance using sanctions and pressure. Africa bends, but resentment grows, waiting for the next rebellion. 2. Africa unites, builds alliances with BRICS, and slowly breaks free from Western control. 3. A messy middle. Conflicts, coups, and crises as old powers and new powers clash. Whichever path unfolds, one thing is certain. The world will not return to the old status quo. At its core, this isn't just about governments. It's about people. Farmers who can finally sell their crops at fair prices. Miners who dream of working for their own prosperity, not foreign companies. Children who want education funded by African wealth, not by Western charity. Traoré's stand speaks to them. It says, your future belongs to you, not to Washington, Paris, or Brussels. So has the West's nightmare begun? Maybe, maybe not yet. But one thing is clear. Africa has found its voice. And it's not a whisper, it's a roar. Traoré's defiance may be the first chapter of a new story. The story of a continent reclaiming its destiny. And if that story continues, the 21st century may not belong to the West, or even to the East. It may belong to Africa. If you found this analysis powerful, don't just move on. Support this conversation. Hit that like button to push this story into more feeds. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Do you think Africa can finally break free, or will the West strike back harder? And of course, subscribe to the channel for more deep dive analysis into the struggles and victories shaping our world today. Because the story isn't over. In fact, it's only just beginning.